Here's the uncomfortable truth. The U.S. economy is built for couples, but the way a lot of you men are showing up is breaking the system. Listen, let's have a conversation. So first of all, I know what a lot of people are going to think. They're going to be like, all right, you're the finance guy. So how does what you're talking about today have anything to do with finance? Well, it really does. When you think about the U.S. economy and how it was structured many years ago, if you're not married, you normally can't buy a really good piece of real estate, right? Of course, there are some single guys like myself. I bought a condo, blah, but I'm talking about some real wealth that you're trying to build in this country. The tax system, right? If you're filing as a couple, you normally have a little more break on your tax, right? Even if you think about your bank account, just the FDIC, right? The insurance that you have on your account. If you're single, it's $250,000. But if you're married, it's $500,000. Now, you got to make sure you got your spouse on your account, but nonetheless. So this conversation, normally people would say, hey, this isn't for sensitive men. I need my sensitive men to come listen for a little bit, right? We're going to talk about manhood and how it juxtaposes our ability to create wealth in this country. All right, so check this out. There's a book, first of all, that I want every man to go out there and buy. It's called The Gentry Man. It talks about how men in the past were jack of all trades, right? They were able to understand finance. They were able to understand the economy. They were able to fix on a car. Now, nobody would ever confuse me for some mountain man, right? That's just not who I am. But I will tell you that whenever my fence or something else at my house needs to be fixed, I at least give it a shot. You got to at least go out there and pretend. Take your hammer out there, put a nail in it, and just hit it until the nail goes away. And if you can't fix the fence, actually, go and pay somebody to do it, right? Again, finance, you got to be in the position. Right? All right, so why does this matter? I want men to understand that it's a time for us to understand we can be multidimensional. We can be multicultural. I was having a conversation with my producer about this very topic, and we were talking about how a lot of times men have flipped the script, right? And I say, I'm not out there with y'all, but I'm still a man. So I ain't gonna leave you out on the island and say, y'all, we have flipped the script, right? And so we go on dates with women. We're expecting them to pay for everything and cater to us. I just don't think that's healthy for true manhood. I just don't think it is. So let's talk about this a little bit, right? So first of all, this idea of being a jack of all trades. When you're connected, right, with who you really are, you're very comfortable with yourself. So I know there's certain conversations that I'm just not going to get involved with. One, maybe I don't know anything about that subject, or two, it's just out of bounds for me, right? So I want you to start thinking about this idea that, yes, you can know about sports, you can know about finance, you can know about math or whatever it is, right? But you don't have to engage yourself in every conversation, right? It's okay to say no. It's okay to stay outside of the conversation sometimes. This whole idea behind wealth for me, when I think about a gentry man, though, I run into so many young people who haven't taken the time to invest in their own financial education. And so there's so much information. You're probably watching me on a phone or an iPad or a computer right now. So there's ways for you to get this information. You just got to use it appropriately, right? Also, when I think about a gentry man, I think about someone who is spiritually connected. So what am I saying? Do you have to be a Christian or Muslim? No, you don't. But understanding that it's more to this whole thing than just us. Think about how perfect the universe is, right? I'm not here to try and convince you to be anything other than what you are, but think about how everything is interconnected. And that's one of the things that will help us when we start thinking about our relationship. One of the reasons why I wanted to put this episode together is because I come into contact with a lot of females, right? And so they're always like, hey, love the financial information, but you should maybe go a little further and not be so safe with some of your conversations because men are watching you and men need to know certain things. And so I was like, all right, I'm willing to have those conversations. But some of y'all out there, man, some of y'all tripping, all right? I'm going to just be real with you. I don't know any other way to be, right? Some of y'all are tripping out there. So let's talk a little bit more about it, all right? We've been told you stay in your lane, don't get too smart, but a gentry man rejects the idea that someone's going to stunt their growth. So I don't want you to be stunted out there. Now, you can stunt on somebody, but I don't want you to be stunted in your growth. So I want you to continue to try and push the envelope and go to the next level. I want you to strive to be more affluent. I want you to dress better. All right? I'm going to just put it out there. I hate to see a grown man with his pants sagging down. Part of the reason is because I have a 17-year-old daughter. And at some point, I want her to go marry somebody and get out of my house. But if all y'all out there on this other stuff, you can't come to my house. Well, first of all, my daughter probably won't talk to you because she's been raised by a real man. So it's going to be hard for people to throw some BS game at her, right? But I want her to be with somebody, not like I was in my 20s. Now, I'm not going to go that far, but I want her to be with someone who can protect her, who can provide. That's what we think about when we think about a real man, right? A protector, a provider, someone who's in control of their emotions. A lot of times what I've seen is people who are out of control in their emotions are also out of control when it comes to their finances. So those are things that we need to master as a man culture. All right, a gentry man doesn't just know investing. He knows how politics work in this country. He knows how Fed policy impacts real estate cycles and crypto. Is so much information out there, again, that we have to be accustomed and gravitate toward so that we can be a true partner to someone. Think about it this way. You want your girl to look nice, right? You want her to have her nails done. You want her to have her hair done. You want her to have on nice clothes. Well, how is she able to do those things? Well, she probably has a good job. She knows how to manage her finances. And so the young men out there, we got to catch up. We have to be on equal footing in order to be able to pull one of these women. I heard it say it this way. You need to date in your, tell me again, what is it? You need to date in your tax bracket. So if you want a bad chick, you're going to have to be able to afford her. That's just the facts about it, right? There's some dynamics in the world that just will never go away. So I don't need y'all to be out there trying to figure out how to skimp on your girl. Just get somebody in your tax bracket. The bar has been lowered so far. I heard it said like this. It said, not just to the, it's not on the floor. It's not in the basement. It's in hell. So how did we get here, young men? How did we get where the bar is so low that women are just willing to deal with just about anything, right? So again, as a United States culture, these are things that we need to start thinking about because the future lies literally in our relationships in our hands. All right, so as I land the plane for this, I want you guys to start thinking about ways that you can be multidimensional. So I'm just going to give you some practical advice here. So a lot of my students call me Uncle Cal because that's the vibe that I give them, right? So if I had any uncle advice to you, I would say, first of all, look within yourself. All right, look around yourself, look at what you want to be, what you want to do, who you want to be with, and start working towards those things. I was told very early on that if you don't write things down, they don't actually exist. So we got to get out of the idea that we can keep everything in our brain, in our mind, and we're going to remember it. Get yourself a little small notebook and start writing things down. So when you hear something that's good or you think about something that's good, write those things down. Number 2, you got to get some affirmations, young men. You have to start telling yourself some positive things so that you can become the positivity that you're speaking to yourself. It's so much negativity out there, especially for certain cultures and the men in those cultures. So if you allow those things to permeate your mind all day, that's all you're going to think you're worth. Number 3, if you want to be with a woman, then you have to be a man about it. So you're going to have to court that woman. Now, I'm not saying you can't go out there and split the bill on your first date or your second date or whatever. You guys do like you do. But I heard about a first date that ended up at a gym, and then the gym turned into an offer to go have smoothies. And the guy was like, well, I created value already. I let you come to my gym. So now you got to buy me a smoothie. That's sucker stuff right there, man. We got to get away from being suckers. All right. And the reason why is number 4, we have to start pouring into the next generation. So I come from a generation where all we did, we talked about nose and clothes and how many women we can be with and all of those kind of things, right? And so that messed up an entire generation of relationships. And now we're starting to see the fruit of that. But if we know that those are the facts, then we start to curtail those things. We have to go in a different direction. So I hope this conversation was tough. If I stepped on your toes, say ouch. But drop a comment in the chat and let me know what you think about this conversation about us changing the narrative around men in the 21st century. All right. Think and grow rich. We'll see you next time.